but you always want to move to what's next. And you want to start to think about what is tomorrow. And I think today, this is what this panel and this webinar is really all about. What is a distinctive play about Appalachia? And based on our natural resources, what do we do beyond coal?
Trying to show in the ways in which environmental progress and economic opportunity really intersect and come together. I think a lot of times we think about environmental progress, greenhouse gas reductions, for example, in terms of their costs. We want to put a carbon tax on or something, and it's going to cost people things. As somebody who's lived in the political world, particularly out here in the middle of the country, that's probably a more conservative place than Yale, certainly. I think the problem we've had, and the reason that this whole issue has gotten so polarized, is that we've got too many people who are educated and economically secure and it doesn't really matter to them what gas costs or what electricity costs, who are busy telling a lot of others in this flyover country for whom the cost of a tank of gas really is an important number, or if they're an elderly person and the cost of electricity is really important, telling them what they have to do to fight this climate change. And I think one of the most important things we can do is to shift the narrative, to show that environmental progress, and especially with regard to greenhouse gas emissions, it also represents huge economic opportunity. And I really think that this whole greater Appalachia area is a good example of how this can work.
And then we finally overlaid a very simple, we've released this white paper, and this is part of the results here, but a very simple look at the opportunity zone. So these are economic zones that have been sort of determined by the Treasury Department in the United States that have figured out these are the places that need the most investment. And so you can see that Appalachia really is front and center for some of the places that could benefit from that economic investment. And so as the governor was speaking, you could see that there's this connectedness between environmental and economic investment that could happen as a result of solar.
So why a focus on natural climate solutions? This is an excerpt from a paper that some of my colleagues in the Conservancy published not too long ago. It took a global look at how nature can be part of a part of the solutions to our emissions issues and our carbon issues. This is a screenshot specific to the United States. You're looking at a couple of different natural systems here: forests, ags, grassland, and wetlands. And I wanted to focus at that top box to show you that in the United States, we can reduce over 20% of our carbon pollution through the application of these 21 different natural tools. So nature can be 20% of our sequestration in carbon capture. And right at the top of that list, you see in that blue box, our forests are a huge part of what those climate solutions can be.
More boots on the ground entrepreneurship. This is one of the first projects I've done that has no grant funding whatsoever. This is pure, just private investment, most of it local. And even though this is not on mine lands, it still fits within that model of how can we have sustainable land use in this region that does create, a fair amount of jobs. The CBD hemp industry is a very tough industry right now because it's extremely volatile. It's only recently become open nationwide for farmers to grow CBD hemp.
Utilities have very different motivations. I mean, probably 70% of the utilities in the country are private entities. They have their own set of demands and shareholders and so on, and the rest are public. I know TVA, if you remember, it has its DNA not only in the generation of power, but also in economic development. It was designed to be an economic development tool. I think one of the reasons why they are so interested in renewable energy in general, and that really is solar in this part of the country, is that they're just seeing a lot of interest from companies. If a company is looking to move to Nashville or Knoxville or Chattanooga, a lot of them want to know about the availability of green power for that facility, starting with the big tech companies, but going to lots of others as well. So I think they see it as part of their both serving their customers well mission and also economic development mission in the Valley to make sure that that we don't lose businesses and relocations because of the lack of availability of the green power.
It's a tough one. I know of, very few projects that have been that specific in their retraining efforts. I know of several broader coal miner retraining programs, but generally they don't focus on renewables. Unfortunately, they generally focus on a lot of healthcare, because that is, one of the probably the biggest employer in this region is, different aspects of the healthcare industry. So, a lot of those programs retrain people to, be EMTs or RNs, things of that nature, or to, find mining work out west where there has been more of that still available.
I think this is a good example of people coming together and talking about these issues. But I think beyond that, it's also seeing how these things are really connected. There was a question about COVID and how COVID has affected clean energy and sort of climate action. I think what we've seen and what we've experienced is that people are really more focused on this question of resilience and sort of how everything is really connected. So for us, there's a really great opportunity right now, and for everybody listening, that there's a great wealth of opportunity in being innovative about some of the approaches that we've taken in the past that maybe have been a little bit more siloed. How do we bring these things together to say, the environment is not just, it's nice to take care of the environment and that's a separate issue than economic opportunity. It's really all tied together. And so when we're looking at the communities that we're talking about and the places that we're investing in, there's a great deal of opportunity for new people who are coming in from very different perspectives, who are coming at this from a different point of view, to not ask for permission anymore, but just get in there and dig in.
I'll just jump in and build on that by saying, Nature Conservancy is going to just keep on keeping on. I mean, we have got, regardless of sort of what the political environment looks like, we have got to keep moving towards the clean energy transition. We have got to have federal investments in those things, improving the grid, battery storage, those types of, R&D and deployment strategies we advocate for. As I mentioned during my presentation, we are trying to elevate and support a myriad of dialogues. We have part of a CEO climate dialogue, some of those large corporations that are leaders and are making, putting out with their own voices how we need federal policy changes. But when it comes back down on the ground, we also are trying to elevate those voices from the agricultural sector. I was just on a phone call yesterday listening to one of our Nature Conservancy leaders with a shellfish growers coalition, which you might think is just a coastal initiative, but there's actually a restaurant in Nashville that's a member of the Shellfish Coalition, and they are bringing their voices and advocating for the importance of climate investment. I want to encourage everyone that is on the phone, especially sort of this moment in time that we're all living through, that just keep going, keep moving forward.
I just want to emphasize what I've heard, I think every other speaker say, which is, there's this tendency on these things. And I've talked to so many people who are, I don't know, in the nonprofit field and whatever, who are just like, well, the only answer is the federal government's got to pass a carbon tax, or it's going to take this action or this thing. Don't hold your breath on that stuff. Maybe something will happen, but the better bet right now is nothing I think in the near term. But what's wonderful about the country is that there's just so much stuff going on with the way that corporations are moving forward, the way that nonprofits like the Nature Conservancy are really stepping up and just finding ways to do things, not being caught up in ideology or caught up in blaming this person or that person or the other, organization for it. And I think if I were a young person watching this, the one thing that I'd love to just say to you, or you take out of it, is if this is a subject that interests you, just like go out, pick something up, find something to do, and go ahead and make a contribution to it. I mean, life is short. Let's get on with getting this problem solved.